Today I just want to hang out and do some crafting, so let's clear the space, prep our surface, roll up our sleeves, make some tea. This is also the perfect occasion to watch some reruns while I work. And if this is your first time here, hello, my name is Melody. I like to make videos about customizing your wardrobe, creating costumes, and generally just being a crafty woman. You can also find me getting up to those same nefarious activities over on Instagram. Okay, I'm gonna start with a few things that need to be painted. That way, while they're drying or between coats, I can work on something else. The first being this little gray pumpkin that I thrifted. It's the perfect size and shape, but who do I need to complain to about this color? Who did this? Who is responsible for this atrocity? It's just so cute, but then they went and made it the worst shade of gray. So we're gonna remedy that and paint this like more, oh, hello, gnat. We're having a really bad gnat and fruit fly problem. Anyway, so we're gonna paint this like a normal freaking pumpkin. I might put a jack-o'-lantern face on it too. And then I also have these little shelf mushrooms that I made out of air dry clay a while ago. I don't know what I'm gonna use them for, but I do need to paint them, so I might as well get started on that today as well. I do need to sand them though, because they're a little bit rough, so I'm gonna take my little hand sander and do that off camera because I need to go somewhere that the powder is not going to just get everywhere. So yeah, I'm still waiting for this to cool down, but I've been making my own tea blends lately with some of the herbs that I grow in the garden. So this is mint, thyme, and then some ground dehydrated ginger that my mom gave me, and it's so good. After sanding my clay mushrooms, I coated everything with gesso. But this is the last you'll see of the little clay mushrooms in this video, unfortunately, as my painting process went a little sideways, which we'll see shortly. But at least they're sanded and primed for whenever I do have the time for them. Alright, so while I'm waiting for the gesso to fully dry on the things that I am painting, oh, I forgot to turn on the ring light. I don't care. Okay, I want to pivot to making something more practical, which is something to hang my dangle earrings off of. So I want to make a picture frame with chains across it to hang the earrings on, and I think I'm going to use this gold one. I got this one for free from my mom. She was getting rid of it, and it's cheap enough that I don't feel bad destroying it. And then I think I also want to back it with some of this dark blue crushed velvet. I think that's all I need from this bin. I'm going to use these, and then I also need a couple of anchors to screw into the sides and some chain, and I probably also need to get my hot glue gun set up. So let's see if we can knock this out really quick while our gesso is drying. I took everything out of the frame, including the staples that were holding the backing in place, then attached a hook to be able to hang it on the wall later. I marked where I wanted to attach the chains along the inner edge, then created a starter hole with an awl where I then screwed in the anchors by hand. This is why I chose a cheap manufactured wood frame rather than plastic. This material was very easy to cut into. I always keep my old necklaces in my stash for occasions like these. I first attached one end to an anchor with a jump ring, then measured and cut the chain to the needed length and attached the other side with a jump ring. I tried to make the chain as short as possible so that it'll be taut and not sag too much once it's holding all of the earrings. I do also still want to add some freestanding hooks along the bottom for either larger earrings or a few necklaces, but I didn't have any on hand at that moment. To make the frame's backing, I just cut out a piece of the velvet fabric, slightly larger than the backing, then folded it around the backing and glued down the edges. I then glued this into the back of the picture frame, but I was unfortunately a little overzealous with my hot glue gun, and some of the glue oozed out onto the other side, making a bit of a mess. It's not super noticeable, but I know it's there, and it looks a little sloppy to me, but it can't be undone, so no use crying over spilt milk. Let's carry on. By this point, I was sure the pumpkin must be ready for painting, but alas, one coat of gesso was not sufficient. So I added a generous second coat of primer, then took a much needed soup break before returning to my crafts. So I am still waiting for that second coat of gesso on the pumpkin to dry, even though I took a little break. So While I am still waiting for that, might as well pivot to a third project, and that is starting to make a few oddities displays. I mentioned in a previous video that I have a dead moth and a rabbit skull that I want to use. I think I'm just gonna tackle the moth today. I'm not sure what I want to do. Hold on. So I have a moth that I fished out of the pool, and it's a bit faded and worse for wear, but otherwise fully intact. And then I have a rabbit skull. I think I'm just gonna do the moth today, see how that goes, and that'll kind of be my test run before I do something similar with the skull. Because if the moth doesn't work out, I feel like that's less of a loss than a whole freaking skull. So I'm just gonna put this back on the shelf. I have some fake plants, some fake moss, a whole bunch of these wood rounds that I thrifted, a larger one. I don't think I need this big one, or I have a frame I can repurpose. So I guess right now the decision is between this frame that's missing the glass or one of these wood rounds. And then from there, I'm just gonna play around with hot gluing some different stuff to it and just see what I can come up with. After playing around with a few different options, I realized the small wood round was much too small, and I want to save the large one for the rabbit skull, so that left me with the thrifted frame. I also thought the moth looked really good against this scrap of burgundy velvet and wanted to tie that in somehow. The scrap of fabric was too small to fit across the whole opening, unfortunately, so I settled on only using it within the circle of the photo mat. This dreadful shade of beige wouldn't do, however, so I painted it a matte black. I then attached a piece of the burgundy velvet to the original photo and layered that behind the painted photo mat and secured these back inside the frame. From there, I began playing around with adding different elements on top of the frame and around the edges, like this fake moss. I really wanted to add some pressed flowers, but none of what I had seemed quite right for this piece. I settled on adding a couple of fake plant stems along the top and the bottom. After attaching the moth in the center, I considered adding some of the other rabbit bones in my collection, and I honestly still might go back and do that. I mean, that looks kind of cool right there, actually. But I wasn't 100% sure at the time, so instead I continued fiddling with the moss, and I'm still really happy with how this one turned out. Well, now that literal hours have passed waiting for the gesso to dry, and I've finished 2 other projects, let's see if I can actually get around to painting this guy now. You know what, let's do this right now, right this second. Let's see how opaque this paint is or isn't. That's better, but I'm still gonna need 2 coats of orange, which means waiting for it to dry in between. Okay, guess I've got a little bit longer to work on this than I thought. So let's just get to it. After applying 2 coats of orange paint as well as dark green on the stem, I added some yellow on the high points to give the pumpkin more dimension. He actually turned out way brighter of an orange than he looked in the studio, so I might try to tone down the color later on, but it's fine for now. Then once all that dried, I added a happy little jack-o'-lantern face. The face is sitting a bit higher up than I'd like, but it was getting late and I wasn't in the mood to be all prudent and cautious and plan things out and stuff. Lastly, I added a coat of acrylic fixative. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you made it all the way till the end, leave a princess emoji down in the comments, and if you enjoyed hanging out today, be sure to subscribe so that we can hang out again next time. And I'll see ya when I see ya. But if I lay down and I play dead